Oh my goodness. And I'm live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to my channel and welcome back to my channel. I'm Veronica Charnell and welcome to the podcast. I'm just here to remind you this is a bite sized podcast. So it's short, it's not going to take too much of your time, where we're here to remind you what is more important in life. Everybody knows right from wrong, but I'm here to remind you to help restructure your thoughts, because sometimes I need that, and to restructure your outlook and your view so you can focus on what is more profitable to you in the long run versus those things that are unprofitable to you. So let me just go ahead and get into this is the video version. The audio version you can listen to on all your podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, whatever podcast platform you enjoy, you want to listen to, you can listen to the audio version there, which is different. Let me go ahead and tell you. I have it structured differently versus the video. The video is more, maybe a little bit longer, and more laid back and more not like so formative, because I want it to be more of a personal thing versus in a transparent moment versus in like you in church service or school. And so today, this podcast episode, I want to talk about, because sometimes maybe looking down at my notes, I know there's an online teleprompter that I can get, but I'm kind of old school. You'll see that. You'll learn that about me over a period of time. I still got the little nits and bits of old school stuff in me. By the way, if you see my first video that I posted on YouTube, it looks totally different than the setup I have. It looks different, number one. Number two, I went back and I watched it and I saw something even within myself. This is the transparent moment. And during that time, I was feeling kind of down because I'm human. But there was a lot, I was sensing a lot that was going on, and I was under a lot of stress. And so even though I started this podcast to remind people that you need to remember what's more important, and you need to make sure you build an armor and build a barrier and not get distracted, there are times I have to be encouraged. I need the saints and different ones to pray for me too. There are times I have to be reminded, which is why I named the podcast, I'm Just Here to Remind You. Something real quick to have you thinking and me make sure I look cute. Okay. So this podcast episode, the topic is entitled to Don't Let Anyone Steal Your Joy. I can go for hours with this. I can preach a whole initial sermon and whatever with this one. But this is so true. Don't let anyone, let me say it again, steal your joy. You have to keep your joy. You have to keep your motivation. You can't let people intentions and whatever they plan to do and hatred distract you. Let's keep in mind there's a lot of wars going on, wars and rumors of wars going on in this world right now. There's a lot of domestic wars going on, like within the United States, but you can't let that distract you, and you can't let that steal your joy. So let me talk about. Let me just kind of give you a quick overview. So basically, we're supposed to be happy, right? Intentionally, we're supposed to be happy. We're supposed to be walking in the fullness of God, the way God intended for us to be. He had this whole idea, this whole plan, and this little, you know what, little devil come and just kind of tamper and messed everything up. But we're supposed to be receiving good and positive energy. All of us. It's something, there's a difference when you walk into a room, an atmosphere, and you're welcome versus when you're not welcome, right? There's a big difference between the two. So we're supposed to be releasing good energy, good vibes is what we call it. In other words, your spirit is not supposed to be frustrated. You're not supposed to have walk around like assassinator. You're not supposed to be someone that's just want to start trouble. You're supposed to have the spirit of peace. You should want peace and calmness. You should not want to be a stumbling block, which the Bible speaks of, against nobody. We're supposed to be busy taking care of ourselves, our house, doing our thing. But life is not quite like that, because there are some people in this world that has chosen to be a problem. Sometimes we run into people, and sometimes just life itself throws a curveball. I experienced that recently, and I may turn it into a podcast episode. I don't know for sure, but I want to make sure that you everyone understand that because of life itself is not perfect, because we're going to have these trials and tribulations, because we're going to have these hiccups, we still have to stay focused. As a human, you may kind of sway to the left, sway to the right. You may get upset. It's okay. But the bottom line, you're supposed to have joy. You're supposed to be happy. And you can't let nobody take away your happiness because then you're going to slip into depression. You're going to have this anxiety. You're going to be mad with the world and ain't nobody done nothing to you. That's bad English, I know, but I'm going to say it one more and again. Ain't nobody done nothing to you like that, boo, that will make someone, for an example, walk into a place and just start shooting people randomly. Those people was full with some type of anger and hatred, and they were listening to something in their ear, in their head, that was feeding them negativity. Can you imagine all those mass shootings? Imagine if they was hearing something that was good, something that was positive, and someone to tell them, "Hey, you supposed to have life and life more abundantly." Where is it that you're not supposed to have life and life more abundantly? Where are you not supposed to be successful? You supposed to be. If you choose the path, if you make a decision, and if you surround yourself to go in that direction. A lot of people are not successful because they picked the wrong direction. So that's why another reason why I made this podcast. I'm just here to remind you. So let's unpack this. We have to also make sure we have to spot check our environment, right? Let me unpack this. And I'm gonna paint a picture. I'm gonna list three things, and I'm gonna get on down and get where I need to go. Number one thing that has come to me is environment, the atmosphere. Living in an area, let's paint a picture where there's a bunch of gossip, you bitterness, bickering, and hatred. How can you thrive in something like that? How can you grow? You know what all of that does? It creates, I should say, violent acts. And you know what will happen? Over a period of time, there's a buildup of frustration occurs. So you're frustrated because you're in an environment that's bitterness, bickering, gossip, and hatred. The How can you grow? How can you be happy? How are you gonna have joy? More than likely, monitor those people. They don't. For an example, those who surround themselves around pornography a lot. If you addicted to porn, this will cause a person to step out of a marriage or step out of a relationship because of porn and lust, because they fail to control it, or they fail to do what they're supposed to do, which is turn because you're married, or turn because you're in a relationship, right? Number two, I can talk about that all day. Number two is your community and the company that you keep. This pertains to who's around you. So to condense it, because this is a bite-sized podcast, I got three questions. I believe three questions, but I could talk about this for days. Who do you consider to be your best friend? This is something where you have to take a moment and do a quick self-evaluation. Who do you consider to be your best friend? Who do you hang with the most? And have they changed you? If they have, have you changed for a good, in a good way, positive way, or have you changed in a bad, negative way? Have you? I got to throw some more questions. Have you started thinking the way they think? Have they influenced your actions? That's something to think about. That's your community, and that's your company. And ladies and gentlemen, you know how a lot of times you do background checks for employers, they do background checks for where you live at. It's because they don't want, let's say it like that, they don't want certain type of people in the community because they fear you're gonna come here and be a problem. Now, why they feared that? Well, it's the same thing whether you don't do a background check. Certain type of people will change you over a period of time. And have you stopped and do a self-examination to ask yourself why? Number 3 is your mindset and your behavior. Mindset and behavior. This is what has come to me. See, this came to me first. It always come to the podcast host first, or if you're in church, it always come to the preacher first. That's why I time when I get these topics and I sit down and I think, I also check myself. The podcast hosts and the preachers, we're human. And I mean, we're human. So there's struggles as well. That's why you turn around and you put this in video form or audio, let people see your face so they can see, hey, this is how I really am, regardless of what the enemy have said or whatever. This is me. That's why if you looked at the other video I posted was, hey, I let everybody know there's some fraudulent accounts was created. That's not mine. And I'm watch my security video on YouTube. You see what I'm saying? But let me stay on track. Number 3, mindset and behavior goes hand in hand. Why? Because it's the end result of your environment and what type of company you've been keeping. This is why you got to have a barrier. I was talking to the guy I'm talking to. I've been knowing him for over 20 years, and he's still there, right? And I have heard some negative talk from strangers that hope he don't go stay there. They think if he's gone, it's an open door for them. No, no, because that's a company in a community I don't need to keep. I don't want that around me because they're negative. I don't need that. They're not walking in the judicial system path. So listen. So the end result is from your environment and the type of company you keep. So believe it or not, you absorbing their energy and you absorbing their spirit. You're taking in their how they are. And it's an old saying when I was a little girl, the grown folks back in the day will say birds of a feather flock together. You cannot tell somebody that you are not this way and you're not with this, then you wouldn't have that in your company. So this is just to remind you, kind of think about it. As far as have your joy changed? What have you changed? Well, it could be the environment, it could be the company and the community. You can't agree to certain things because it'll mess you up. And has your mindset and behavior changed? Have you flocked together with the rest of them? You know, you can't do that. I mean, if it's hurting you, kind of let that go. So this is the I'm just here to remind you, YouTube channel. Feel free to follow the podcast or follow the channel. Read my podcast description. I'm gonna have a lot of little stuff too, behind the scenes things. I really feel that it's time now for me to do more and more videos. It's been a fight. It's been a struggle. It really has. And the moment I come and sit to do this, ladies and gentlemen, you don't think there's opposition nearby? No, but you're not going to steal my joy, and you can't let that stop you. Henceforth, I got another podcast episode coming after this. So follow the podcast, hit that bud. Hit that bell icon so you can get notified, okay? Smooches.